Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vyasadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vyasadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vyasadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we will read a verse from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 11. And we will try to understand the message therein. So verse number 9, chapter 11. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. The chapter is entitled The Universal Form. Sanjaya Uvacha Evamuktva tato rajan Mahayogeshwaro Harihi Darshayamasa Parthaya Paramam Rupameshwaram. Sanjaya Uvacha Evamuktva tato rajan Mahayogeshwaro Harihi Darshayamasa Parthaya Paramam Rupameshwaram. Sanjaya Uvacha Evamuktva tato rajan Mahayogeshwaro Harihi Darshayamasa Parthaya Paramam Rupameshwaram. Translation. Sanjaya said, O king, having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. So there's no purport to this. So, Sanjaya, the close, confidant, friend, minister of King Dhrtarastra, is speaking. Eva muktva tato rajan mahayogeshwaro hari, the supremely powerful, the Lord of all mystic power, Sri Hari, having thus spoken, O king, darshayamasa partha, he showed unto, or he revealed unto Partha. Arjun, Paramam Rupam Maheshwaram, his supreme or topmost form full of opulences. So Srila Prabhupada's translation is, O king, having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of God, had displayed his universal form to Arjuna. Kindly note that since this is a conversation, so the verse cannot be taken as a standalone verse. And hence in the translation we find the words universal form. Literally translated, universal form would mean the Vishwarup. And you wouldn't find that in the original text in Sanskrit. It is Rupamaishwaram, the form full of opulences. However, since the Aishwarya here, the opulence here is being revealed to the Lord's universal form, hence Rupam Aishwaram has been translated as universal form. Alright? It also implies, or we should also understand, that it says that the form is full of opulences. Do you like opulences? You like opulences, right? So if I show you a form full of opulences, would you like that? If I say I'm going to show you my domestic form, what kind of emotions are you going to have within your heart? I'll show you my domestic form. You're like, okay. You may be interested. You may be wondering what is therein for me, in it for me. But when I say form full of opulences, everyone is interested, because there is a lot that I could have from that form. There could be. It's like sail. Everyone likes sail, isn't it? I mean, even if you have enough resources, just the idea of a sail is very nice. It makes you feel that it's easy going, it's easily accessible. So Aishwarya or opulences similarly brings up that kind of notion, because that is the impact of language, or that is how meaningful words bring forth emotions. When we as practitioners of Krishna consciousness hear universal form, we are like, But when we hear that the universal form is full of opulences, we will be like, okay, other than the trees and the mountains and the rivers, what other opulence is there? Are there jewels? Because according to some Vedic literatures, which describe the geography and the geology of this planet, they say that the ocean bed has jewels, ratna. One of the Sanskrit names for the ocean is Ratna Garbha. Did you know that? The ocean is also called as Ratna Garbha. The ocean is called as Samudra. Yes? Samudra is all that which can. It is very vast. There's a lot of things that can be held within it. Samudra. Isn't it? Ratna Garbha means there's so much of jewels that you can find within the ocean. And makes sense. Where do you think most of the precious metals are found? Where is it found? Within the Earth's core, or let us say, within the earth, right? So the rains fall, they take away the topsoil from the mount. Did I say ocean? Earth, huh? From the mountains. The mountains are like this huge mound of earth. So there is a possibility of having gold nuggets, silver nuggets, diamonds, tungsten. So many minerals within that mound of earth. Huge mounds of earth, right? So we could go mining on the flat surface of the earth, or you could mine into the mountains, because what is mining about? Getting the resources from the earth. Correct? When rains fall, torrential rains, what does it do to the upper layer of the earth, the upper crust? The topsoil is carried by the is loosened by the impact of the rains, and it's carried downstream. Now, as the water flows downstream, that is what we call as a stream, later on a river, and typically a river would end into an ocean, typically, otherwise it will just dry up. Typically it would end into an ocean, because that is how greater quantities of water, that is how they kind of flow. So when the topsoil from the mountains flows through the river beds, where do you think it will end up? Over ages and ages and ages. Where will it end up? Into the ocean. Plus the ocean itself, the ocean bed, is also made up of the earth's crust. So you'll find minerals therein too. Ratna Garbha, does it make sense? Logical? How many of us have ever tried to conceive how the ocean could have jewels in this way? Did we try to conceive that this is how it could happen? Logical, isn't it? Makes sense. Nothing really very mystical about it. Like ocean god, and the ocean god has jewels. Yeah? Geology. So that is one way of understanding why sometimes the ocean is referred to as the Ratna Garbha, unlimited. We haven't really explored all that the ocean floor can offer us, because limitations. We have limitations as humans. So the idea of opulences, things that are attractive, because we use words to describe them in a particular language, makes sense. Now, Ratna Garbha, most of you may have understood what it means. Yes? Did you understand what is Ratna Garbha? Garbha means womb. Garbha means womb. Ratna means jewels. So that which has jewels within its womb is Ratna Garbha. So the ocean. Now when I tell you that we are going to the ocean, you'll be excited. Oh wow, we can go boating, yachting, cruise. When I say we are going to go to the Ratna Garbha, what else would come to your mind? Can I see jewels there? See how words carry meanings, and therefore the way we look at objects changes, the perspective changes. So when we look at Rupam Aishwaram and think of the universal form, we think of planets, stars, the universe as we understand it through the eyes of a telescope. And when we say Rupam Aishwaram, then it is the universal form which displays a lot of opulences. Yes? Now, we'll be excited to know about the universal form. Alright? So, evam uktva tato rajan. We've discussed, I've been doing this, discussing on this verse for a couple of days prior to this. So what we have discussed up till now is that Arjuna is excited hearing that Krishna has a lot of opulences, like unfathomable opulences. Unfathomable. How did he come to know? Krishna said, Yadyat vibhutimat sattvam shrimat urjitam eva tam tam evava gacchatam mama tejo angsha sambhava. Tejo angsha. A spark of my splendor. In the early days here in the West, people would travel, those who were miners or those who were the original understanding of gold diggers, the original understanding. They would go digging for gold. Yeah? So they would travel into the wild parts of this country, and they would go, into this not very much accessed places, mountain streams, and they would spend the entire day with a sieve trying to find some gold nuggets, silver nuggets. And it was a back-breaking job that they did. And some of them would find some nuggets. The news would spread. This river, this stream that flows down this mountain has, people have discovered some gold and silver nuggets. Hundreds upon thousands of people seeking gold would come there. The gold rush, the silver rush, and the mountain would be named as Silver Mountain, the Gold Mountain. And after a few years, when they see that, over a period of a month or 2 months, not much is being available now, not much is being found, they would desert that town, a deserted town, ghost town. Correct? Isn't it? So when the news would spread that somebody had found, let's say, in those days maybe they were still using grams as a means of measuring weight. So somebody would have found a nugget weighing, let's say, 20 grams or 10 grams. They just found a couple of nuggets. But why would hundreds of people come there? Because there was hope. Hope to find much more. So when Arjuna hears that simply a spark of his splendor has so much, yat yat vibhutimat, whatever opulences I've described and you can think of, or your entire community you can think of. Yat yat would mean that. Whoever, whatever, wherever, whichever. Yat yat. Vibhutimat. So whoever has heard of, thought of, imagined or spoken about opulences. Whichever place or whichever book or discussions, wherever, have spoken of it. All of that and much more, mama tejangsha sambhavam, is within a spark of my splendor. So Arjuna immediately is excited. He's like, you said spark. That means there must be a whole fire with innumerable sparks. Now I would like to see all of that. Correct? Like in the previous decade in India, Bollywood came up with a dialogue that people would always, Bollywood? Everyone is aware of Bollywood? Yeah. Okay, good. A dialogue. ये तो बस ट्रेलर है, अभी पिक्चर बाकी है. This is just a trailer. The entire movie is yet to be telecast. So Arjuna was in that mood. Krishna, this is just a trailer. I would like to see the whole movie. So evam uktva tato rajan, Krishna said, all right Arjuna. In the previous verse it says, all right Arjuna, I give you the ability to see my form of opulences. He says, Pashyame yogam aishwaram. Krishna does not say Pashyame vishwarupam. He says Pashyame yogam aishwaram. See my Aishwarya yoga. See my mystical form full of opulences. So evam uktva tato rajan. Who's Rajan here? King Dhrtarastra. So after so many chapters of the Bhagavad-Gita, we are again made aware that a significant player and stakeholder. A significant stakeholder here is Dhrtarashtra. Otherwise we had lost touch with Dhrtarashtra. How many Bhagavad-Gita lectures have we or discussions have we participated in? Numbers, any numbers. On an average, whatever number comes to your mind. How many do you think you have participated in? 20, 30. Sorry? 20, 30. In your past 4, 5, 10 years, whatever, 20, 30. How many have you participated in? Around 50. Around 50. Anyone else?
Not in person, but I've heard around
80, 90. Discussions, right? Discussions, lectures. Anyone else? Around 50? 100? Yeah, possible. Yeah. Imagine people like us when, at a certain part of our lives, every day we had to sit morning and evening in classes. 365 days a year. Very rarely, maybe let's say 50, 30, 20, 30, right? In how many discussions were you aware that actually Dhrtarastra is also a major stakeholder here? Not really, isn't it? And it's not necessary because this is the philosophy of life. Nonetheless, the players here are Dhrtarastra, Sanjaya, Arjuna and Krishna are already there. Isn't it? So what is in it for Dhrtarashtra? Or what is it that we can learn whenever Vyasadeva brings Dhritarashtra's name up? Or whenever we become aware that Dhritarashtra is also a part of this. What is there to learn? There's always something to learn because it is a philosophy of life. Yes? So Rajan. Sanjay is addressing King Dhritarashtra as Rajan. We also address him as king. But technically speaking, he is not the king, he is the caretaker king. Technically speaking. So most probably he is not very happy when people address him as caretaker king. He is more happy when he is addressed as the king. So we see that in Dhritarashtra's case, we understand there is his over-dependence on his egotistical understanding of who he is. Caretaker king, definitely there's no doubt about it, but still Rajan. What is interesting is that when he is trying to explain to him about Krishna, he says, Mahayogeshwara Hari. Although Krishna is not wanting people to over-glorify him or even glorify him, because Mahayogeshwara is just plain glorification of Krishna. It's not we are trying to overdo it. The king needs that kind of input, King Dhritarashtra. It would be, if we are taking this perspective of this discussion, then it would be acceptable if he would have said, Evam uktva tato maharajan, Yogeshwaro Hari. It would be all right. Why would it be all right? Because Sanjay is serving King Dhritarashtra. So Sanjay's interests are to see that Dhritarashtra is happy. Let me give you a practical example. Maybe in this audience, I'm not aware of the online audience, but the audience that is here in front of me, about 70 to 80% of you, 70%, 7 out of 10, are married people. Right? 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Maybe 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 are yet to be married. I'm excluding myself from this crowd. I said the audience, right? Is that fair? 6 out of 10 married. How do you feel when someone talks to you and underplays your role and is over enthusiastic of the role of your spouse? Now, most of you are going to give me a politically correct answer. Let's talk about siblings also. Your sibling. And your best friend is over-glorifying. What seems to be over-glorifying seems to you is that your best friend is over-glorifying your sibling. And is completely like making you feel as if you are non-existent. The discussions, that is what you may feel. How does it feel? Especially if you have some ego. Ego means your understanding of who you are is very important to you. I'm not speaking of ego where there is vanity and where there is this pride. Not that kind of ego. Ego means what you feel is your existence. Right? Sometimes people's ego is dependent on whether they have a thick mustache or not, males. Ego. If it gets clipped, they have a terrible day that day. And it's so terrible for them. The entire day they are like, how do I regrow it back? They're in a meeting and I'm sorry, I'm somewhere else today. Because that is their ego, their existence. It's not that they're trying to, project themselves as very, very attractive people to others. Not that. It's just about their existence. When we have defined a particular existence for ourselves and we see that it is being underplayed or under-addressed, it is natural that one may feel dejected. Because who doesn't like to hear of oneself? Correct? It's not wrong. It's not wrong to, it's not that we have to completely negate our existence. But when we overdo it, when we try to imagine beyond what is reality, then it becomes unhealthy. Very unhealthy. Yeah? So here, Krishna has not even done anything. He says, okay, here I'm going to reveal my form to you, Rupam Aishwaram or Aishwarya Yoga. And Sanjay is like, gung-ho about it, Mahayogeshwara, Hari. And he's addressing Dhrtarastra as Rajan. In any other context, Rajan would have been all right. But at least, the person that you're speaking about is in the opposite party. I have invested in my sons. Krishna is, he's trying to facilitate those who are against my sons. And you are Sanjay, my best friend. Now, amongst Dhrtarastra and Sanjay, both are very, very well-read, learned, very perceptive gentlemen, both of them. Regardless of one being the king and the other being his minister. Regardless of that. They are like top achievers of that time. Very respected gentlemen, both of them. So amongst them, there is some protocol that you follow. Right? At one point of time, most of you are students with your friends in colleges. Then you come to the corporate atmosphere. Slowly you go up the rungs of the corporate ladder along with the very friends that you spend time. So in a very, very official setting, there's protocol that you follow. Occasionally, when you are in a private space, you may go back to that college ambience that you used to have. Occasionally. Over a period of time, people forget that. It's only like, hey, let's go and party, take a vacation at Hawaii, and there they are like again, are ture, like, hey man. But as you go up, you get used to the culture because that is how you live day in and day out. This is a king. He has been in that realm, in that zone for a long time, and Sanjay too. So there are certain protocols that they must have gotten used to. Still, when he addresses Krishna as Mahayogeshwar, it shows, it clearly, very clearly shows where his actual loyalty is. And shouldn't that make Dhritarashtra a little uncomfortable? It doesn't. It does not. And the reason being, both of them are learned personalities. That is what knowledge does. If you have good learning, if you have good academic training, not just memorization but also understanding, then even if one has differences, those differences does not make you interact like street urchins. You don't come down to that level like street brawls. However, it clearly indicates what is Sanjay's inclination. He's inclined towards Dhritarashtra. At the same time, he knows that not just he, but even Dhritarashtra is aware that Krishna is not an ordinary personality. Then how is it that Dhritarashtra does not get convinced to not pit his sons against anyone that is being supported by Krishna? How is it that doesn't happen? Very simple. Very, very simple to understand. We can relate to it. Most of us, we consider ourselves to be subservient to the Supreme Lord, to God. We have accepted that. We have adopted a lifestyle change based on that conception that, I will serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and through my words, actions, and thoughts, I would try to see that I live up to this philosophy that I have accepted. Correct? We accept that. If Krishna were to come here and say, you have to go and, go and sleep, we would do that. If he would say, stand up, we would do that. If Krishna were here directly, because we have accepted that in our lives. Right? Despite the fact that we have accepted this philosophy in our lives, there are moments in our lives where we know that the protocol demands for us to behave in a particular way. And we are not able to do that. We are learned people. We've understood it through our own reading, through discussions, through hearing from other learned people. Still we are not able to do it. Not always. Certain moments of our life. What is the most prominent example that comes to your mind? Yes. Getting up early. We know that everyone says that it is healthy, it is good, it is the time that is most favorable for focused meditation. Anything else that comes to mind? Dealing with family issues? Yes. We know what it means. We've read about it. We've understood. Still, we kind of make mistakes. We do what we are not supposed to do. Anything else? Anyone? Chanting. Very touchy topic.
No volume here. Hare Krishna.
So we know, we have heard. In actual practice, we see the challenges. Everyone likes prasad. We know, we have heard that before prasad, we have to offer up prayers to prasad. Now, if I were prasad, think, if you were prasad, and the way I offer prayers to prasad every day, how would you feel? How would it make you feel? Like, I am prasad. Now you are prasad, and this is me offering. Mahaprasade Govinde, no Brahmani Vishla. Sharira Vidya. Please, one more. How would you feel? You'd feel that you're just doing it as a formality. Isn't it? So being learned, having good understanding, still puts us in so many situations in our life where we understand that this is not how we should behave. And that is how we can also see that Dhrtarashtra similarly responds to situations in his life. What happens when we are not able to do that which is required? What happens to us? Things go wrong. Sorry? Guilt. Yes, guilt. And when there is guilt in the heart, how does it manifest in our behavior? Frustration.
Anger.
Negativity.
Anger.
What else? Feeling victimized. When guilt is there, now try to relate to Dhrtarashtra. Oh, just because I'm blind. See? I know that I should not be doing this, but what can I do? Right? Oh, Sanjaya, why are you speaking like this to me? Yes? So simply by making this statement, this intensely, immensely, such greatness, this great personality, Vyasadeva, we can see his superlative qualities being exhibited. He just gives this verse, and it helps us or it stimulates our latent emotions and thought process. If we want, many a times we may just kind of overlook it, because we have certain tastes, and according to our taste, we are very choosy. So there is this entire feast in front of us, 700 verses, we choose. I think I'll just take this and this and this and this. When was any experience in your lives when you were having a huge feast, like 20 preparations, and you already have your pre-notions, isn't it? Maybe I'll not have that vegetable, or maybe I'll not have this preparation, maybe salad. And then your friend, who is the person who gets the last batch of salad, and after that salad is over, he eats it and he's like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I mean, I've never tasted, I don't know what they have put in salad today. And you're like, what? And it is kind of just going on eating, and he knows that you do not like salad. He cannot help it because it is so good. He feels, when you hear from him so much, you're like, all right, let me just try. You're not against salad, it is not your favorite thing. Your favorite could be, let's say, goranga potatoes or something like that. Cream preparations with sour cream in it. So you stuff yourself with that. When your friend who's also sitting with his or her plate is, exclaiming, coming out with so many superlatives, you're like, all right, let me just taste it. And it, with your pinky finger, that is how people generally, either when because others have convinced them and they want to taste it, or with the index finger, okay, you do that. Put it on your tongue and you're like, wow. At that moment of time, you forget who you are, who your friend is, where you're sitting. The only thing is, let me go to where the bowls are, to where the vessels are. Can I have some salad? And they're like, sorry, it's gone. All the other things that you really wanted to eat at that moment disappears. And maybe for a day, for an hour, maybe for even 5 minutes, you're like, why do I have such biases in life? Why don't I be more open-minded? Yeah? So we need to have those moments in our life, because life always throws surprises, and sometimes, many a times, those surprises are very, very, very healthy. Hence the Vedas always encourage us to be inquisitive. Jignasa, 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 jignasa. That is what happens in the spiritual world every day. Even when Krishna is right there, they're like asking each other, where is Krishna? What is he doing? They're like, he's right here. I know. What did he do before this? They want to know. Always inquisitive. The birds, they want to know, when is Krishna waking up? The little birds are asking their elders, is Krishna awake? Has Krishna come to the forest? Can we go there, Mama? Can we go there, Papa? The trees are talking to each other. Do you think Krishna will hang from my branch today? Yesterday you were so fortunate. I've sprouted fresh leaves. Just look at my leaves. Will Krishna look at it? Always inquiring, always inquisitive, wanting their inquisitiveness is about how would Krishna be attracted to whatever modes of service is available to them. Now imagine if the trees are all smug and like, yeah, I know Krishna is going to come. I mean, so what? Every day he comes. There's no fun. There's nothing new. Sometimes, over a period of time in any relationship, that is how we become smug in our lives. So what's new? So life always brings us surprises. Every day. Even though the sun every day rises, it's not the same ambience that it rises with every single day. That's how the world is. What can you do? You look at your weather app every day. What is today's UV index? Every day it's different. AQI is every day different. Surprises. And a lot of those surprises are very, very, very helpful for us, provided we are open-minded. So, here we see that Sanjaya is very, very much inclined towards Krishna. That doesn't make him antagonistic to Dhrtarastra. Now, if you read the Mahabharata, Sanjaya is not just informing Dhritarashtra about the events at the battlefield, he's also participating in the battle. So most probably, many a times, he's coming back and narrating. Because every evening the battle, at least for the first 11 days of the 18 days, the battle would get over by evening. And they had, good means of conveyance. Like Krishna, he traveled from Dwarka to Vidarbha overnight. So the horses are really swift. Dwarka to Vidarbha is like traveling from maybe Seattle to the Bay Area. Maybe you can look up on Google and see if the distance is almost the same. Similar distance. So they had good means of conveyance then. Sometimes we think, especially if you have seen the television version of the Mahabharata, you're like really, those chariots seem as if they can fall apart any moment. It's just a special effects that makes them look good. And then we carry those images in our mind. But these people, their livelihood depended on these means of conveyance. Can you imagine warriors who had to shoot like sharp arrows, take aim, and they had to be out in the open field on rickety chariots like that? So they must have had, and thousands of warriors, charioteers are there. So they must have had good technology. At least we expect them to have that. Otherwise it's a stupid war. Stupidity right there if they didn't have that. So he would come back. Sanjaya would come back and narrate to Dhrtarashtra on certain days. Certain days he would just, he'd stay with Dhrtarashtra and just narrate to him what is happening. So either ways, the Sanjaya has the vision. Dhrtarashtra does not have vision. So he can only understand when Sanjaya speaks to him. So Sanjaya is not antagonistic to Dhrtarashtra. At the same time, he is very, very favorably inclined towards Krishna. And how do we understand that? This is the ingenuity of Vyasa. He is so brilliant. So brilliant. Just by introducing this verse here shows his brilliance. Many a times, brilliance may be overlooked. Many a times that is what happens. It is only hundreds of years later that we are like, oh, that was a life-changing moment in the history of mankind. Why? Why is brilliance overlooked? Because we have accepted mediocrity as being normal. Wherever a presentation where you're trying to show off always your attributes. Show off means you're trying to prove that how big you are, how good you are always. If that is very important in any society, then trust that society to have a very strong undercurrent of mediocrity. And if you are able to see certain elements of brilliance, of intellectual brilliance, some intellectual brilliance, and even if externally there seems to be simplicity, be excited because this is where inventions can come from. Now, famous, where do you think most of the corporations here on the West Coast, where did they start? In the garages. Correct? Where do you, it's like a common joke, where do people have most of their brilliant ideas? In the washroom. Because that is where they're focused on just one job and they have everything else empty. All the other chambers of their mind empty. So, the rest of the day, because there's so much of traffic coming in, a brilliant idea is subdued. It is covered over. But in the washroom, you're focused. So that idea, it's like that bulb, boom, it lights up. It's a joke. It's not that. That's how it is. Yeah? So Vyas. No wonder the Vedic literatures and those who read the Vedic literatures offer so much of gratitude to Vyasadeva. Sometimes he would be a mendicant. Sometimes he would be on a battlefield. On other occasions, he would be in palaces. On a different occasion, he would be a traveler in the Himalayas. He had so many various facets of his life. What stands out for all of us is his brilliant poetry. Why? Because it gives us so much to think over. With our own experiences in life, we can chew on. Our intelligence can chew on that which Vyas has offered. If he had not offered this, what could we do? What would we have done? And then we can also try and understand, because everyone, if we have accepted a particular school of thought, like in ISKCON, we have accepted the Gaudiya Vaishnava school of thought. Then all the literatures that have come through the acharyas, through these powerful presenters over ages, it's amazing because we get so much to discuss on it. So many takeaway messages from them. If they did not have that, what would we as speakers and you as, if they wouldn't have given us all of these literatures, what would we as speakers and you as an audience, what would we have done? Yeah. So we try and be grateful to them. So Mahayogeshwara Harihi. This shows not just Vyasa's brilliance, but it shows how much Vyasadeva is appreciating Sanjaya's intellect. A good poetry, especially when you're trying to describe a historical event, is where you let the audience feel the emotions and the characters. What is their personality? When he's saying Mahayogeshwara and he's addressing Dhrtarastra as Rajan, we see what he's trying to do, Sanjaya. And Vyasadeva is not trying to present his own version. He's trying to describe a historical event so that we are able to relate to it. He says Harihi. Hari means someone who takes away. Specifically, it means someone who takes away that which is his or hers or its. It also means someone who takes away that which we should not be harboring, that which is not ours. So, the word Hari inherently also signifies some ability to dominate. If one does not have a dominant personality, how will one take away? Correct? Whenever you thought of the word Hari, how many occasions did you feel that Hari also signifies the Lord as being very powerful? Or would it always be the Lord is very merciful? Now you see how brilliant Vyasadeva is and how brilliant Sanjaya is, if that is the word Sanjaya has used. Here he is projecting Lord Krishna by addressing him as Hari, as a dominant personality. Mercy aspect will be there. But generally mercy is more, if we understand masculine as strength, power, and feminine as grace, generous. Typically that is how we understand, right? If one has feminine qualities, it means there is grace, there is generosity, there is humility. Masculine qualities, humility doesn't immediately come to mind. What are masculine qualities? Prowess, ego, protective, overpowering. Is that true? I'm not speaking of the genders here, or maybe I am. How do I explain? I'm not speaking of male and female. I'm speaking of qualities, the way human society typically, whatever culture we come from, this is typical understanding of masculine qualities and feminine qualities. The word Hari is very soft, typically in understanding. It's about generosity. Does it also portray ferociousness? Does it portray power? Here it does. How does it do that? Here Sanjaya is hoping that Dhrtarashtra may understand the import of this word Hari when he speaks it. One who takes away that which is not ours. He takes away that which is non-essential. He takes away that which is incorrect. That is Hari. Yeah? So sometimes, if you are not aware, then a lion in Sanskrit is also addressed as Hari. A lion. One of the names of a lion is Hari. Power. Controller, the king of the entire jungle, who takes away the distress by his rule over the entire jungle. If you see a lion is so self-confident that doesn't care, it doesn't unnecessarily want to trouble anyone else. And no one dare cause trouble in his territory. Therefore, a lion is also addressed as Hari. A lion is Singha, or also addressed as Hari. So when he is addressing Krishna as Hari here, he is hoping that Dhrtarashtra would come to his senses and realize this is a lost war as far as his sons are concerned. And hopefully, understanding that his sons would lose this war and maybe things may not turn out good for them, hopefully he may give the instruction, being the caretaker king, that stop the war. The Pandavas are the rightful heirs. Hopefully he may do that. Hopefully he would stop this carnage. Dhrtarashtra could not. So Sanjaya is everyone who understands that the war is not going to really help. What would be really helpful? People, they may not lose their brothers and they may not lose their fathers, they may not lose their grandfathers. The family structure could be preserved if people would just change their understanding of life, change their understanding of what real ambitions should be. Hopeful. So we see Sanjaya being a pacifist, although he is participating in the war. Dhrtarashtra is not an aggressor. However, certain desires of him put him in a situation where he feels he doesn't have an option. Many of us may not be aggressors in life, but the choices that we make put us into situations where we may not have options. At that moment, we cannot blame the situation. We have to consider whether we made the right choices or not. Yes? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we can pull it up on the screen, 10th canto, there is a beautiful narration of some ladies. They are called as this is chapter 23. They are referred to as the Brahmanapatnis, the wives of the Yagic Brahmanas. 23, 2-3. Chapter 23. So Krishna, Balaram, his friends, Sridama, Subal, they are on their daily, they are doing the daily routine. They have taken their cows out for grazing. Today Krishna wants to graze in that area on the banks of the Yamuna, which is today referred to as Bhatrol. A small community of Brahmanas would be living there, and Krishna knew that they were performing sacrifices. Now what it means is that since there was an elaborate sacrifice being conducted there, there would be a lot of food offerings. Amongst other things, other ingredients, food offerings. So Krishna had taken his friends in that direction. Now, looking back, we know that this was the Lord's arrangement. They did not know that it was the Lord's arrangement. So they are having fun playing, and all of a sudden, they realize that their lunch boxes are empty and they are hungry. And they are far, far away from the village. So being simple boys from villages, they asked Krishna, Krishna, we are hungry. Do you think we can get some food here? Maybe there are some vendors, maybe there's a village. What should we do? Krishna, please tell us. You know how amongst friends, group of friends, even when you were in a group of friends, typically whenever a situation arises, typically it becomes easier for the entire group when there is one person who takes lead. Has it happened? Does it generally happen? One person takes lead. That person need not always be a leader. Isn't it? For that situation, the person takes lead. There's always a possibility that there could be a natural leader in those group of friends. There's always a possibility. And when that happens, anytime a situation comes up, everyone is like, what do you say? And he says, no, you take a decision. And all of us would say, have you ever done that? Isn't it? So stop being modest. Just tell us what to do. We kind of just accept what you do. That is also natural, isn't it? So this is the case with Krishna and his friends. Normal dealings, isn't it? Krishna, where do we get food? Krishna is like, I have heard from certain sources. Just as some of the news outlets, certain sources. I've heard from certain sources that there is a lot of free food available just a few meters away. And then Krishna says, why don't you all go ahead and ask them for food? Now, again, this is very normal dealings. Even though we may expect a leader, many times we are happy to take lead in certain aspects. So amongst the group, if there is a natural leader that we have all accepted, and the leader says, why don't you go ahead and see if it is safe for us to travel on this route or not? Trekking, if it's, where does this trail lead to? We're like, yeah, I would like to do that. At that moment, we may not say, why don't you do it? You are the leader. You lead us. It's very natural. So Krishna, he asked his friends, he said, why don't you go and ask them for food? His friends are like, sure, Krishna, no problem. You stay right here. We'll get it done. So they go to that place. And they see this really formal atmosphere. Very, very formal. Now these boys from the villages, they have seen life. That is what village life is about. You have seen a lot of things happen in life. It's not like the city. What is city life? There's always a facade. The exteriors have to look very good. Village life is not like that. Why? Because in the cities, typically in a city, wherever you are in this world, there'll always be the possibility, the greater possibility of gated communities. In the village, there's always a greater possibility of open houses. Is that true? Because the cities have a lot of things that people store, keep it for themselves. In the villages, it's not possible because a village life basically means you have limited access to resources. So the very ambience of a village helps you be more open-hearted, have open hearts, open houses. Therefore, sometimes Srila Prabhupada says, village life is in the mode of goodness. He says forest is basically, because in the forest, everyone can have their own space. In the village, certain species may not have space. So forest mode of goodness, he says village is in the mode of passion and cities are in the mode of ignorance. And the reason he's saying is because the setting itself wants you to be narrow-minded. And when you become narrow-minded, you're not open to ideas, and that is how ignorance comes in. Yes? So, village boys, they're like, Subal, come here, see what they're doing. A couple of them, they go up to the Brahmanas and like, Sir, is something important happening here? That's how village people are, isn't it? They don't have any airs about them. In the city, because you have been trained to, this is how you should behave. These are the protocols. Have you read the rules? So even if you are at a gas station for a moment, if it is a new city, you're like, okay, we are in the city. If it is the outskirts of the city, you're a little more, you feel easygoing. But in the middle of the city, where is the entrance? Where is the exit? Are there any cops around? Security. It is a little stressful, correct? So here they enter this huge arena, like huge space. People are there, this sacrificial fires, the Agnikundas are there, people are chanting mantras. Sir, they have seen things happening, they have seen sacrifices, but they want to know, is this something special? So the Brahmanas are like, yes, but keep quiet. Let us focus. Official people, generally, they are like that. So the officiating priests, they did, shh. Sir, we heard there's a lot of food here. Can we have some? Shh. Not now, after the sacrifice. But we are hungry now. Right? If someone tells you, you shouldn't be hungry right now, is that intelligent? How do I not be hungry right now? Right? Hunger is something that you don't have control over. Like, we are hungry right now. Not right now. Many times parents do that to children. You can't be hungry right now. I travel in local conveyances in India. I've seen a lot of that happen in India with people who travel in trains or buses. जब देखो भूख लग जाती है about their children. And not only that, they want the other elders there in that vehicle to agree with them. सही है ना, सही है ना? And if the other elders also have children, they all are in agreement. जब खाना दो तब भूख नहीं लगती, और जब कुछ नहीं होता तभी भूख लगती है. That is how it's supposed to be, because when you give them food, because they know food is available, they have eaten food, there's a possibility that the next time you give them food, they'll be hungry, or they may not be hungry. But when you're not carrying food with them, there's no control over their hunger. They do not know how to control their hunger. So the very, very statements that the elders are making proves the point that the children are right and they are wrong. But they feel that they are right and the children are just being truants. Logically, if you think logically. So anyways, shh, not right now, after the sacrifice, come later, we'll see. Things like that. They're like, they have such attitude. They go back to Krishna. Krishna, they have so much attitude. Oh, but we are hungry, Krishna. Please, we need food. Krishna says, all right, go to the wives of all of these gentlemen. No. I mean, we faced rejection once. I don't think so we are ready. He says, no, trust me, go. Are you sure, Krishna? Yeah, you should go to the wives. But what if they do not give? Krishna says, no, they will give. All right, if you say so. Yeah, sometimes ladies, they are more generous. But are you sure, Krishna? Krishna says, if there is a problem, just tell them Krishna and Balaram are nearby and they are very hungry. So, oh, that makes sense. You are the king's son. There are high stakes here for them. So they go. They go to the wives of the Brahmanas. Krishna and Balaram are hungry. You know how children are? If they have an advantage, then the first thing they do is use the advantage. Adults are not like that. They are very calculating. Should I use my advantage now or later? What would be a better time? And many times they lose out because of that. Children are never like that. They are like, who knows what would happen tomorrow? Right now I have an advantage, use it. Even if the advantage is lost, so what? So they had the advantage. So they never said that we are hungry. They went and said immediately, ma'am, auntie, Krishna and Balaram are hungry and they are close by and we have come on their behalf and we are hungry too. And they're like, oh, Krishna and Balaram are hungry. Oh, little children, you are hungry. Take all of the food. They said, wonderful. So the boys pick it up and they go right through that arena of Yajnik Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas are like, oh, AZBs, whatever, Swaha. Yeah? And they're like, what is happening? That moment, the Brahmanas were going through the same emotions that some of the devotees, when they're chanting Hare Krishna, they go through. When they're chanting and people are carrying out prasad vessels, they're like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The thoughts in their mind is, should we complete this round or not? Because they have already started distributing prasadam. So, again, adults, they never immediately act on their instincts. So they'll kind of really furtively look around and they'll find somebody who's finished their rounds and they're like, Prabhu, Mataji, please keep a plate for me also. All right? Hare Krishna. But they're not really sure they'll do that. They're still wondering, should we complete a round or should we just let it go and run? Sometimes they become yogis and they say like, okay, no sense gratification. But there are other moments, this challenge is not going to come just once in your life. There are other moments where you're like, Krishna will understand. That means you just go and take prasad. So the Yagnik Brahmins there, they're like, what is happening? So they, with their, the hotas or the chief priests that are there, they indicate to the assistant priests. The assistant priests, already they are having their own concerns, and when they receive this, this adesh, visual adesh, they get this indication from their higher-ups. They're like, yeah. So they go to the ladies. What is happening? Hey, boys, stop. What is happening? The ladies tell them, boys, run, run. The boys are like, you don't have to tell us to run. We know they are going to stop, and we are not going to stop. They're going to make us stop, and we are not stopping here. We are hungry. There's food. Run. So the boys ran. Now, these are, professional people, so they are not going to run after the boys. They're going to ask their wives. These are offerings meant for the sacrifice. The sacrifice has not come to the stage where we can make these offerings, and you have sent it away. What is the plan? Was that extra or what? And even if it was extra, first you should have let the offerings be done. They started, typically, this is what happens if there is kind of hierarchy. The people up there, first they give you your instructions, and then they ask you, have you understood that? And if you tell them, well, we already are implementing it. Why didn't you tell me before? Why did you waste my time? But you are not ready to listen. Yeah? So they are like speaking to their wives are keeping quiet. And then finally, so, what is your explanation? The wife said, well, they were hungry, so we gave them food. We are not Yagnik Brahmanas. We are simple women. We understand that when a child is hungry, the child needs food, so we gave them the food. Like, oh, so many times we've told you that these are certain considerations, these are the norms, and still you don't understand. So many times. They're gone. They take it to Krishna and Balaram. So the Yagnik Brahmanas, they tell them, all right, whatever, now we cannot run after them or we cannot stop the sacrifices, so make some arrangement, alternative arrangements. So the wives, they have that ability, being the caretakers of the house, they know how to manifest things. So they did that. So the sacrifices continued. As the sacrifices are going on, it was a big sacrifice, long sacrifice. The wives quietly went to where Krishna and Balaram were. And they told Krishna and Balaram, we want to join the Brahmacharini ashram. We want to come and stay with you. Krishna said, that is not possible. You should go back to your husbands. They are doing the sacrifice. You are the wives. Any sacrifice is incomplete without your presence. You are learned ladies, please go back. The wife said, they will not accept us back. We have surrendered unto you. You are the Supreme Lord. You offer shelter to your devotees. Krishna said, yes, that is true. I assure you that they will not blame you. In fact, they will welcome you with lot of respect. I assure you of that. I will personally make them understand if need be. So they go back. Very quickly, we are going to read the response of the Brahmanas. the Agnic Brahmanas. Okay. Text 38. Can we pull it up? And then we'll just read from 38 onwards. I think it's about 5 or 10 verses. Verse number 38. Three eight. No, text, this is chapter 23, text 38. Same chapter. 38, verse number 38. So 10.23.38. Yes. Translations. We'll go quickly because we have Guru Puja at 10 o'clock. The Brahmanas then came to their senses and began to feel great remorse. They thought, we have sinned, for we have denied the request of the two lords of the universe who deceptively appeared as ordinary human beings. Nice. They're coming to their senses, right? Next translation, 39. So once we read it, if I'm explaining, you can go to the next translation immediately. It's easy for you. Taking note of their wives' pure transcendental devotion for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and seeing their own lack of devotion, the Brahmanas felt most sorrowful and began to condemn themselves. Hi. Toba, toba. Next. To hell with our threefold birth, our vow of celibacy, our extensive learning, to hell with our aristocratic background, and our expertise in rituals of sacrifice. These are all condemned because we were inimical to the transcendental personality of Godhead. Can we go to the verse? This verse. Because the Sanskrit is very interesting. Dik janam, dik vratam, dik kulam. It sounds like drum beats, isn't it? This verse would be very exciting for all of you to memorize. Dik kriya daksham. Dik, 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 dik. Yes, next verse. So they're condemning all of that. All that was their protocol. The illusory potency of the Supreme Lord certainly bewilders even the great mystics. What to speak of us? Now they're trying to justify. See? People who have great knowledge, when they make a mistake, their first response, on most occasions, is justification. As Brahmanas, we were supposed to be spiritual masters of all classes of men, yet we have been bewildered about our own real self-interest. Now they are in the justification mode. Just see. Now they are trying to feel that not much is lost because our wives, we are going to get some credits for that. So they are being hopeful. Just see the unlimited love these women have developed for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Master, the spiritual master of the entire universe. This love has broken for them the very bonds of death, their attachment to family life. I will not comment on that. Next. These women have never undergone the purificatory rites of the twice-born classes, nor have they lived as brahmacharis in the ashram, brahmacharis or brahmacharinis in the ashram of a spiritual master, nor have they executed austerities, speculated on the nature of the self, followed the formalities of cleanliness, or engaged in pious rituals. Nevertheless, they have firm devotion for Lord Krishna, whose glories are chanted by the exalted hymns of the Vedas, and who is the supreme master of all masters of mystic power. We, on the other hand, have no devotion for the Lord, although we have executed all of these processes. You can understand they are very learned people, therefore they cannot simply just say, we are sorry. When you have too much knowledge, you have to have big exposition, especially if there's justification involved. Indeed, infatuated as we are with our household affairs, we have deviated completely from the real aim of life. How many times they have, in this big exposition, they are like, indeed, we have done wrong, we have done wrong, we have done wrong, we have done wrong. Arey Papa, just say we are sorry, because that is what the Brahmanapatnis did. But it's not possible for them. Indeed, infatuated as we are with our household affairs, we have deviated completely from the real aim of life. But now, just see how the Lord, through the words of these simple cowherd boys, has reminded us of the ultimate destination of all true transcendentalists. The Lord is hungry. Yajna bhuk. Otherwise, why would the Supreme Controller, whose every desire is already fulfilled and who is a master of liberation and all other transcendental benedictions, enact this pretense with us who are always to be controlled by him? Next. I think this is the conclusion. Hoping for the touch of his lotus feet, the goddess of fortune perpetually worships him alone, leaving aside all others and renouncing a pride and fickleness that he begs is certainly astonishing to everyone. So they are giving a lot of justification, understanding. Can we go through? Yes, next verse. There's a lot. So you understand they are kind of now in the lecturing mode. Despite feeling the guilt of not having served the Supreme Lord. Next, please. Next translation. Yes. Let us offer our obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His intelligence is never bewildered, whereas we, confused by his power of illusion, are simply wandering about on the paths of fruitive work. So now they are kind of expressing what should be done. Okay? Next. We hope that he'll kindly forgive our offense. Next. Yes. Thus, reflecting on the sin they had committed by neglecting Lord Krishna, they became very eager to see him. But, being afraid of King Kansa, they did not dare to go to Vraja. They did not dare go to Vraja. So you see, if we have not simplified our understanding of life principles to the immense knowledge that we have, knowledge should not make us complicated. Knowledge is supposed to help us have clarity, simplicity in life. But many people get confused. They feel knowledge is about how much you know. Knowledge is about how you understand that everything is very simple in practice. That is what knowledge should be giving us. But if it is not happening, then although we are learned, although we may exclaim that this is what we should do, unfortunately, we may not be able to do it because fear of certain other things will always stop us. Prabhupada said that if we chant Hare Krishna, it will relieve us of all doubts and fears. Now, whether it would happen in our life or not, that depends on us, if we are able to have that realization or not. So it is for ours to now take an experience. It is up to us. So thank you very much. Let's stop here. Hare Krishna. We'll have Guru Puja, and then if there is any questions or doubts, you can ask me. We are not going to do it online anymore. I'm sorry. I did not give it time for that. Okay? Hare Krishna. Yes? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. This is one thing that I have always appreciated, that you all have so much of gratitude for the speakers who come and share. So all glories to all of you. I think you should clap for all of yourselves. Let's have a clap for all of you. Louder. Hari Bol to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for visiting us and making ISV as your orbit. And we beg and request you to keep ISV in your orbit, and please come to the temple and enlighten us. Today's class is so deep, so nice. Without the purport, when I first read that verse, I never thought of all these details from the Bhagavad-Gita verse. So you kindly told what is the meaning of that. And also, you also landed us in the crux of understanding from the Brahmanapatnis pastime, and how even after realizing that they are wrong, like still there is some fear that they could not go and see Krishna. Thank you so much for enlightening us.
Can you play? Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. Okay, we'll first read the Guru Vandanam. Namashashtham manumapi sachiputram atra swarupam Shri Rupam tasya grajatam urupurim mathurim gashtabatim Radha kundam girivaram aho radhika madhavashvam Praptayasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum tam natosmi He Guru Jnanadadina Bandhu Swananda Data Karunaika Sindhu Vrinda Banasena Hitavatara Prasiddha Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dinabandhu Karunaika Sindhu Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandamude Lakshabarade Bahupapagare Tatpad Padme Stumatischa Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachimata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodara, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radhakund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha and Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From Him ecstatic prema emanates. By Him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Shri Gurur Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Bandamoi Savadhana Mate Jahara prasade bhai e bhavatare ajay. Krishna prapti hai jaha hoite Guru mukha padma bhakya chitte koriyaka. Arana kari hamane asha Shri Guru Charane Rate Eshe Uttama Gati. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अबेदा बिना सजते वेद गाय जहाँ रचरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु लोकनाथ लोके राजबाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु कर दया देह मोरे पद छाया एबे जास घुषुक त्रिभुवना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय गुरुदेव जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय राधा मदन मोहन, राधा मदन मोहन, जय श्री राधे। जय राधा मदन मोहन, राधा मदन मोहन, श्री राधे। जय राधा मदन मोहन, राधा मदन मोहन, जय श्री राधे। जय महाप्रभु, 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 जय महाप्रभु। जय पंचतत्व, 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 जय पंचतत्व। जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह, लक्ष्मी नरसिंह, लक्ष्मी नरसिंह, जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह। जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय प्रभुपाद। प्रभुपाद। प्रभुपाद, 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 प्रभुपाद। जय जगद्गुरु प्रभुपदा, जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपदा। जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय गुरुदेव। जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन श्रीमन महाप्रभु श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। श्रील प्रभुपाद गुरु पूजा की। जय नमो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य Ashtottara Shashmat, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagadguru Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Namam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprachakacha Ashtottara Shashmat, His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि शिशि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र शिशि जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन भगवान की श्रीमन महाप्रभु की श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव भगवान की गंगा जमुना माई की भक्ति प्रदायिनी देवी तुलसी महारानी की समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you everyone. We especially thank His Grace Rohini Priya Prabhu who is visiting us. We are very fortunate to have his association. And tomorrow also we'll have the fortune to hear from him in the Sunday feast. So everyone, please welcome, 3 to 5 p.m. We'll also have, Ajit Kumar Babu, have any book distribution announcement?
Hare Krishna. So today we will be going for book distribution as usual. A lot of our devotees are traveling to Sadhu Sangha, but still there are some teams who will go door to door Srimad Bhagavatam distribution. So if anybody is interested, please to join Cupertino team. One team is going in Cupertino, and then one team might be going in Dublin area. So please reach out and keep looking in WhatsApp Warriors, Weekend Warriors in the WhatsApp. So you'll find the details there, and please join us for a few hours. Thank you so much.
And next week, I've heard His Holiness Devamrit Maharaj is visiting next Sunday. So check out for the emails that's coming. I'm just announcing before only. So please watch out your emails. There's a lot of interesting events going to happen. Krishna consciousness, there's no dearth of interesting events. It's always there. We'll also have the Nirjala Ekadasi coming, Paniyati Chiradai, Snan Jatra. So check out your emails, and thank you very much for making time to come. And after this we'll have Prasadam. Let's sing the Prasadam prayer before we go there. Sharira Vidyaja Jarendriya Tahikal Jive Phele Vishaya Shagare तार मध्य जीवायाति लोभमा सुदुर्मति थाके जेथा कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बर दयामय कोरि बर जीवा जा Shaprasad Anna Dila Bhai Shay Anna Mrita Pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Swalpapannabatam Rajan Vishwasanaiva Jayate Shade Sarva Dukkhanam Anirasapajayate Prasanna Cheta He Asu Buddhir Pariyabhitastate. Mahaprasadam ki. Everyone please honor Mahaprasadam. And Prabhuji is around. If you have any questions, please feel free to approach him. He is available to answer any of your questions or clarifications or any discussions if you want to have. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And thank you Krishangi Gopi Mataji for the broadcast. She silently